If you struggle with dip top coat application, I'll walk you through my dip top coat process to get the maximum amount of shine, and I'll also walk you through some tips and tricks if you struggle with dip top coat dry time, or if you happen to smear your top coat before it dries and you need to reapply it. Let's go ahead and jump right into this, and because I'm focusing on dip top coat, I went ahead and pre-dipped most of my fingers. So I'll show you on my thumb my dipping process, but I just want to show you the colors really quick because these are all so beautiful and they're from West Coast Dips. So let's start with my ring finger. So my ring finger is Relief. Look at how beautiful that glitter is. It is just stunning and I cannot stop staring at it, especially when I get it in the sun. So that's Relief, and this is actually going to go on my thumb as well, so I'll show you this a little bit in action. And then for my middle finger and pinky, I have Hush, which is this really beautiful, hopefully you can see the shimmer, kind of a light pink. It's kind of got like a little mauvish undertone, so you can, but it's so beautiful. Like I wish you could see the shimmer of this, but this is Hush. And then for my index finger and then a little bit of ombre on my middle finger, this is Peaceful. It's such a beautiful glitter. So I love the way all these colors pair together. So really though, I want to focus on showing you dip top coat, giving you a couple hints if you're struggling with dip top coat. But I figured I'd go ahead and do the dipping process on my thumb from start to finish, and then we'll get into dip top coat. So like I said, I'm going to be using Relief. Oh, and by the way, sneak peek, I don't know when this is going to be released. I don't even know if it has a name yet, but this handy dandy tool is coming soon to Chaos Concepts. Look at how cool that is. So it's a great place to hold your items. I love this, and you can use it as a hand rest, as you're kind of dipping out or doing whatever manicure you are. So this is really cool. I'm super excited about it. So I thought I'd sneak peek it in this video. And so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm using my West Coast Dips dip base, and I'm going to go ahead and dip out my thumb using Relief. So let me show you just how pretty this color is. Oh my goodness. Look at that. And it's even prettier on, but I mean, it actually looks almost exactly like it does in the jar, which sometimes your dip powder in the jar looks either lighter or darker than what's actually when you dip it. But this actually looks exactly the same, and I just can't even get over how beautiful it is. So let's go ahead. So I'm removing most of the dip base from my brush. I'm starting not at my cuticle area, but I'm starting kind of above halfway, brushing downwards towards my free edge, and then I will work my way up to my cuticle line. And I am wearing peel base, so it's going to make my dip base dry a little bit faster, so my dip base brush is sticking a little bit. So we'll see what kind of dip I get with this first dip. So I kind of rolled my finger in it because the jar is so full and I don't want to spill. But look at that. Like, oh my goodness. This would be so good sugared. So I'm just going to clean up around my cuticle area, make sure I don't have any product on my skin because that will cause lifting. And this is, by the way, the precision tool, it's upside down, from West Coast Dips as well. So I'm just going to give that a few seconds for my dip base to dry because I don't want to dust off the excess powder while it's still drying, because then I would dust off this beautiful glitter. But I mean, how pretty is that? So gorgeous. All right. So actually not bad. With the peel base, I thought maybe I wouldn't get good coverage, but actually, I mean, besides that little part at the cuticle area that I missed, one dip coverage. I mean, look at that coverage. Look at that glitter. I mean, come on. If you don't have this color, you need it. And I would mention I am an ambassador for West Coast Dips, so these were gifted to me. However, this is my honest opinion. I would never share anything with you that I didn't love. And I mean, look at this. I don't even have to say anything. Just look at it. Anyway, so you can use my ambassador code Jeannie10 to save 10% off your orders if you do decide to pick up some dip powders. But let's go ahead and get into dip number 2. So it's going to be 2 total dips of the glitter. And then I will cap it in clear. Do a little filing and buffing. Really the filing is just going to be to clean up my shape. And then just a quick buff on top. I don't really need to, I mean, it's thin, it's smooth. It doesn't really need much work. So we're going to go in with dip number 2. And then kind of roll. Oh, I lost a little bit, but that's okay. Clean up around the cuticle area. I mean, if you're going to make a mess, at least it's a pretty mess, right? I mean, just look at this glitter. And I feel like, I think there's a little wet spot. I feel like there's not much difference between the first dip and the second, just because the first dip gave such great coverage. But obviously there was that little cuticle area that I missed, so I was at least able to cover that up. But that's what that looks like. And then let me cover that up because we are done with that. Is my dip base dry? Yeah, it's dry. So dust off the excess powder. And then I'm going to go ahead and cap and clear because I don't want to file directly over a glitter. You never want to file directly over a glitter. You want to encapsulate it with clear first. So I'm using Crystal Clear. This is from West Coast Dips as well. You don't have to use clear dip powder. You can use gel base and gel top coat. You can use builder gel, whatever your preference is. But if you are going to file and buff over a glitter, make sure that you're encapsulating it because you will file through the color, it'll look silver, and it'll just lose that color. So I cap everything in clear anyway, whether it's a solid, whether it's a glitter, shimmer. That's just my preference. But if you don't like to do that, you know, you do you, whatever you want, but make sure for glitters, if you're going to file and buff, to encapsulate. Make sure I get that all covered. So I'm going to give that a second to dry. I just like to press it in a little bit and make sure that it's fully absorbing in the dip base. So West Coast Dips has a really clear. It's a really great clear, but I do have ways that I work with clear regardless of how wonderful they are. So I do apply a little bit excess, a little bit more dip base than I normally do, just so the clear has something to absorb into. So I do a little more dip base than normal. I dip into the clear. I do like to press it down to make sure that it's absorbing into the dip base, so it's still a little sticky. So I'm going to wait because I want to wait till it's fully dry. And then when it is fully dry, I will take my stiff scrubby brush. So this is my clear scrubby brush, and I will scrub off any of the excess powder. And that's also, you know, that's a great tip for avoiding any graininess or cloudiness when you're using a clear, because you can dust off with like a duster brush, but you don't get like as good of, what's the word I'm looking for? You'd be amazed at, even with just a dust brush, how much you miss. So going in with the stiff scrub brush really helps. So I'm just gonna, I like to start gently because I don't like to just go ahead and start scrubbing, because if it's still wet and I don't realize, I don't want to mess up my dip powder. So we're fully dry, so I'm just going to make sure I give it a good scrub. So that's what that looks like. And then I'm going to go ahead and activate. So this is my West Coast Dips activator. And I'm going to apply a generous amount of activator because I am going to do a little buffing on top. It's not going to need much, but I just want to make sure that it's penetrating through those 3 layers. So the 2 layers of glitter, the 1 layer of clear. I just want to make sure that it's hardening all of that. and I'm running low on activator. So it looks like I'm applying a lot, but I'm actually not really applying a lot. It's just because my brush gets dry, so then I have to go back in, dip in, and get more activator. So here's what it looks like. I'm gonna wait at least 2 minutes for the dip powder to harden, and then I'll be back. We can do a little filing and buffing and then get into the dip top coat. Actually, while I'm waiting for my dip top coat, not top coat, what am I talking about? Waiting for my activator to harden my dip powder, I'm going to show you a little bit of cleanup because you know I like to clean up as I go. So for these items from Chaos Concepts, all you have to do is brush it off with a dust brush and you're all clear. Obviously, I made a mess on my mat, but that's all it takes. So I love these 3D printed items because they're not like silicone where like the dip powder sticks to them. All you have to do is brush it off and then it's clean. And then if it gets a little too dirty, then you can just wash it in a little warm soap and water and then it's clean again. But really you only have to do that maybe like once every month or a couple of months. But really all you have to do is dust it off with a dust brush and then you're all clean and ready to use again. So I cannot wait for this to release. So it's great for holding that. And then if you turn it around, you could just use it as a hand rest if you want. All right, now really I'll be back when this is hardened and we can do a little filing and buffing. Okay, my dip powder is hardened and how you know it's ready to file and buff is when you do this. Do you hear that hollow sound? That means you're ready for filing and buffing because your dip powder has hardened. So this is my favorite skinny nail file. It is so good for the cuticle area. I get these off of Amazon. I'll leave them linked below down in my description. I highly recommend these nail files. Not only do they work great, I like that they're skinny. It's really hard to find skinny nail files. So I'm just going to use it to clean up my shape a little bit. So right here at my cuticle area, I'm just going to kind of wedge that in and clean up that cuticle area. Make sure my line is straight. And then I will go around the sidewalls. Just clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up, although this dip powder applied pretty smoothly, so I'm not going to need that much cleanup. So you can see I'm going around the edge, around the sidewall, and then I'm just going to clean up my shape a little bit because dip powder can make your shape a little bit wider and kind of morph the shape a little bit. So I just want to clean that up a little bit, but I don't think it's too off because this isn't thick. It's not a thick chunky glitter or anything like that. So I just want to make sure I'm cleaning up my shape. And that's all I'm going to do for my nail file. I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but this is super smooth. I don't need to file on top of it. So what I'm going to do is I just want to smooth that out a little bit more. So I'm going to use my little buffing block. And I get a huge pack of these off of Amazon. And I have 2 packs. I accidentally bought 2 packs of these. I couldn't tell you, years ago. And it's like a huge pack of them. So I'm still trying to get through these buffers because I have so many of them. But I think I'm slowly, maybe finally finishing up my first pack of them. But I use them more than one time. I use them maybe a handful of times before they're probably need to be tossed. And I move on to another one. So I think I'm almost maybe done with my first pack, but. And then I like to do my free edge as well. Make sure there aren't any sharp edges I'm not aware of so I don't scratch myself. Even though it's almond, you never know. So I just like to clean up the shape a little bit with the buffer as well. And that's really all. That simple. That's how great these dip powders are to work with. So you see here? And I know it looks a little dull, but dip top coat is my favorite part. So for dip top coat, your dip top coat, I don't know science, but for dip top coat, it does need activator to dry. So I will say this for dip top coat, every company has different instructions. Make sure that you're following the company's instructions for their dip top coat if you're using it. A lot of them are apply your activator, wait 2 minutes for your activator to dry, and then go in with your dip top coat. Some of them are 1 minute, wait 1 minute, and then go in with your dip top coat. Some are 30 seconds. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to the company instructions. A lot of companies are really great and they include like a little card when you order their liquids that give you the instructions. Or sometimes you can go on their website and find the instructions. You can search for instructions or directions or dip top coat. You know, it's just going to vary by brand, or you can go on their Facebook group and ask for specific instructions. So I'm going to pop in a clip really quick of how you find the dip top coat instructions for West Coast dips specifically, because that's what I'm going to follow. So for theirs, I am going to apply one final layer of activator, and it's just a thin layer of activator. So I want to make sure I get plenty on my brush. I don't have to go in with multiple layers. I just need enough activator to dry my dip top coat. So I'm going to wait 2 full minutes. And then according to West Coast Dip's website, you apply your activator, you wait 2 minutes, and then they recommend either wiping your nail with a lint-free wipe, a dry lint-free wipe, or you can use a little isopropyl alcohol. I like to use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, but you don't want to use too much. You want to do just like a quick swipe of it. You don't want to douse your nail and like rub it down with the alcohol. So I don't want you to sit here for 2 minutes and listen to me ramble about nothing. So I'll be back after 2 minutes. We will wipe down the nail and then we will get into dip top coat. 2 minutes have passed. So I'm going to take my lint-free wipe, and some isopropyl alcohol, just a little bit. And I'm just going to do a quick swipe to remove any of that excess activator. So I'm going to let that dry just for a second. And then I have got my West Coast Dips dip top coat. And I'm going to use a lint-free wipe to wipe off my brush. So what we're going to do is, for my first coat, I'm going to apply in 2 to 3 really quick swipes on not each nail, I'm only doing my thumb, on my nail. And then I'm going to wipe my brush on a lint-free wipe when I'm done. Just remove any excess activator. So see that? Really quick. Don't worry if you miss any spots. This is just your first layer. You do need a second layer of top coat for it to get shiny. So I'm going to wait a couple seconds. I want it to get a little dull and wrinkly. That's when I know I'm ready to go in with my second layer. Normally I do all 5 nails, and then by that time it's ready for my top coat, my second layer. So that's why I'm waiting a little bit, just for it to get a little dull and wrinkly, which it is starting to look a little bit that way, which I don't think you can tell in lighting. But then I will go in with my second layer. So this one, I'm going to make sure that I've got my entire nail covered. And I also want to make sure that I'm capping my free edge. You don't want to take too many strokes, but you don't have to do it all in 3. You can do a couple more if needed. So that's how it's looking. Your dip top coat should not take a long time to dry. This one's maybe like 2-3 minutes max. I'd say, depending on your brand, probably like 5 minutes should be the max it should take to dry, or else there may be something wrong. So your dip top coat should dry fairly quickly. So I'll say probably some of the reasons why it may not dry quickly is, I don't know, maybe your activator is old or bad, or maybe your dip top coat layers are too thick, so the activator can't get to it to dry them. So you just have to play around with it a little bit, but it should not take forever to dry. But I will say, if it does take forever to dry and you accidentally smudge it, you can redo it. What you can do is just take your buffer, buff off that dip top coat that you had on, that you smeared, buff it off, apply another layer of activator, wait your 2 minutes or whatever those company instructions are, and then go back in with your dip top coat. Make sure your dip top coat layers aren't too thick so that they will dry properly. Make sure you've got good activator. And so those are some of the keys you can try if you're struggling with dip top coat, but it really doesn't have to be difficult. You know, liquids may play a factor as well, the brands. So you can see here how it's been maybe like a couple minutes. So I'm just going to gently, so see, I'm completely dry. So you don't want to just like put your finger on it just in case it's not dry, but see, it's completely dry. So that was super quick. That was maybe 2 minutes. So now I'm ready to go in. Make sure you always rehydrate your cuticle. So I'm using my Scales of Mermaid. This is Ahh-CHOOSE You. So this was a limited edition set. It sold out on release day. She didn't expect it to sell out so quickly. She opened up, she released more, and I believe it sold out again. That's how good this scent was. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and rehydrate my cuticles. And I definitely want to wait till my dip top coat is fully dry before I apply cuticle oil, because that will also mess up your dip top coat. So that's it. Just look at how beautiful and shiny this dip top coat is. I absolutely love it. It's really great. So hopefully this helps if you're struggling with dip top coat. Just a few pointers of things you can try, what you need to do. The biggest thing I can say is make sure you're checking the company's website. Make sure you're following their instructions, because they know their liquids best. They know how to get the best performance out of them. So I hope this video is helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this. And it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.